Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Haziq bin Wahab, metric number 2512427, and today in this video I'm presenting the novel My Name is Salma by Fadia Faqir. My presentation will contain three parts, which are the introduction, the content of the novel, and lastly the themes of the novel. Let's start with the introduction. Fadia Faqir is a Jordanian British academician involved in human rights issues. She was born in Amman, Jordan, and her father is from Jordan, while her mother is a Caucasian. Fadia Faqir was born in Amman in 1956 and educated in Jordan and England. She gained her bachelor in English literature from University of Jordan, Amman, before going to Britain, where she completed her master in creative writing at Lancaster University. Then she proceeded to get her PhD in University of East Anglia in creative and critical writing in 1990. In 2007, she wrote a novel titled My Name is Salma. My Name is Salma is about the main character Salma, which she ran away from his home to live a new life. So let's start with the content of the novel. So part 1, Salma is a girl and she came from Hima, a small, conservative and Bedouin village in the mountains of unnamed Arab country. She is the daughter of Mahmud, a shepherd and farmer, and lives a simple life, tending goats, weaving and fetching water. Despite her humble and restricted work, Salma is intelligent, observant and spirited. She often climbs hills to watch the horizon, wondering if life holds more for her than what the tradition allows. Her curiosity and sense of independence directly set her apart from the other women in her community. One day, while tending her goats, she meets Hamdan, a young poet and wanderer. The connection is immediate. He spoke to her with gentleness and admiration, unlike the men in her tribe to view women as property. They begin a secret relationship, meeting in the desert and exchanging poems and dreams. Their love, however, is forbidden. Salma's work is ruled by tribal code of honor. A woman's virtue declines her family reputation. When Salma becomes pregnant, her life changes forever. At first, she hides her pregnancy, terrified. She prays to God, tightens her belt, and avoids people's eyes. But eventually, her condition becomes visible. The women of the village whisper. The men talk of dishonor. Her father and brothers swear they will wash the shame with blood. Salma's mother, though heartbroken, cannot protect her. Even her sister Zainab refuses to speak up. Silence is the only survival in such a society. Then we are going to part 2, which is prison. To protect her from being murdered by her family, the local police arrest her and send her to a women's prison in the city. The irony is painful. She is imprisoned not because of her crime, but to her own safety. In the prison, Salma gives birth to a baby girl, Layla. The birth is a moment of immense love and devastating sorrow. She holds her baby and briefly before the authorities takes the child away, claiming she will be adopted by a good family. Salma screams and pleads, but her voice means nothing in a world where she is already condemned. She spends years in prison, isolated and broken, haunted by the dreams of her daughter Time loses meaning. She watches other women come and go, prostitutes, widows, dishonored daughters, and each a victim of society's cruelty. Eventually, a kind nun named Sister Josephine takes pity on her through a, through a charity through a charity organization. She arranges for Salma to escape abroad. Salma is told that her family still intends to kill her if she ever returns home. She has no choice but to leave her country behind, alone, nameless, and grieving. Then we will go into part 3, which is her arrival in England. Salma is given a new identity and a new name, Sally Asher. She arrives in Exeter, England, as an asylum seeker. A cold, grey city in a world away from her sun-drenched desert. Everything is alien: the language, the food, the people's ways. She is sponsored by Miss Asher, a kind but patronizing social worker who treats her like a charity project. Miss Asher encouraged her to embrace freedom, learn English, and dress like an English woman. She even renames her Sally, erasing her Arabic name, another layer of loss. Salma starts attending English classes, working mental jobs, and learning how to survive. She becomes friends with Liz, a modern, outspoken British woman who lives life without shame, drinking, dating, and speaking freely. Liz represents everything Salma had been forbidden to be, and their friendship is both inspiring and painful. Salma sometimes envies Liz's freedom, but also feels repulsed by her carelessness. Liz, in turn, cannot understand why Salma clings to her religion and modesty. Now we will go into the inner conflict of Salma. Although Salma has escaped from her family, she cannot escape her guilt and memories. The voice of her mother still echoes in her head. She dreams constantly of Layla, what she might look like, whether she's alive, whether she knows her mother's name. Every small detail in England reminds her of home: the smell of spices, the call of birds, the color of fabric. Fadia Faqir's writing mixes past and present seamlessly, showing how Salma's trauma haunts her even as she tries to start over. Salma sometimes meets with men who are kind to her, but her past has made her fearful to intimacy. She briefly falls into a relationship with John, an older Englishman who is gentle and curious about her culture. But when he becomes too intimate, she panics. The wave of shame and fear returns, and she ends the relationship abruptly. Despite her efforts, she remains an outsider. She wears different clothes, speaks broken English, and faces racism. People call her foreigner and hesitate. She realizes that even in the West, she will never be fully free. She has simply traded one form of imprisonment to another. Then we'll go to part 4, which is the dream of Layla. As years pass, Salma tries to build a semblance of a normal life. She works as a seamstress, attends night school, and occasionally visits the mosque. Yet deep inside, her heart is still in Hima, her home. Then one day, she hears from someone connected to Arab diaspora that her daughter Layla is alive, living in her home country, grown up and beautiful. The news fills Salma with both hope and dread. Despite warnings that her family might still kill her, Salma becomes obsessed with seeing Layla. She cannot rest until she sees her child's face. She begins to plan a secret journey back home. And then we will go to part 5, the return. Salma travels back to her country. under a false name. She disguises herself as a tourist, wearing Western clothes and sunglasses. Her heart pounds as she hears Hima, the village she once called home, where her name is still cursed. When she arrives, she hides among the crowds, afraid of being recognized. She asks around quietly until she learns that Layla is alive, a young woman now, living with Salma's family. Salma walks to the outskirts of her old home and finally sees her daughter from distance, beautiful, graceful, unaware of the woman watching her in that moment. Salma feels both joy and unbearable grief. She whispers her daughter's name before she can reach for a familiar voice with her name calls her name. Her brother has found her. Without hesitation, he shoots her dead in an alley. Salma falls, her life ending exactly where it began, on her homeland soil, under the weight of its traditions. She dies with her daughter's name on her lips, never having spoken to her. Now that is the end of the content of the books. Now we will move on to the themes. Okay, the first theme in this novel is hypocrisy in religion. It questions how religion can be twisted by culture, name, and customs. For Salma, her society uses Islam to justify honor killings, even though in true Islamic values condemn such act. The second theme is identity. Salma got her freedom in England as Sally Asher, a new name, new soul, and a new life, but lost her sense of belonging and identity as Salma from Hima. And lastly, the theme of this novel is racism. Salma struggles with racism and alienation because of her Arabic backgrounds in England. She quoted, "I just want to be family," in page 225, showing her exhaustion, struggling with her new life. That is all from my presentation. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.